are going to have as a keynote, and this is by Delinia, sharing insights on securing privilege, how PAM helps security leaders. To address the audience, may I invite Mr. Ajay Boringwar, Country Manager, India and SAARC, Delinia, on stage. He's going to be walking us through securing privilege.
Thank you everyone for joining this session. Today I'm going to talk about securing privilege and how PAM helps security leaders. So I think we all know about security issues today, the kind of threats, the kind of incidents that happen and what keeps us awake. Incidentally, we keep hearing about attacks every day. We keep hearing about different kinds of attacks, and every organization probably has a different issue or concern that raises them. Whether it is malware and ransomware, which is more common for everyone, and whether it could be something around data privacy related issues for certain regulated sectors, for certain, let's say, hospitals that we talked about a few weeks ago when the AIMS attack happened. Or it could be related to brand loss, revenue loss, about the incidents. Meaning, I think it's all there. We all know about it. There's no point dragging that particular. But the underlying message here is we will all be threatened with these particular attacks. And when all these different attacks will happen, we need to find a solution. Obviously, no silver bullet, but we need to find solutions. How do we avoid these particular, rather protect these attacks? We'll keep doing incident response, we'll keep doing other stuff, but how do we prevent them? And one of the prevention mechanisms here, which we all know, is definitely PAM. But just to, before, step back a little bit and talk why and how and where it is all coming from. If we look at today's security, we have, or the environment today, we are looking at more and more complicated networks that we have. We went from the perimeter to today the cloud. We went to IT, OT. Just the session before, we were talking about OT security. So OT is also getting connected to the cloud, to your environments. You also have the cloud today, and not just cloud from an extended perimeter point of view, but really using the cloud SaaS kind of stuff. And then we keep talking about how different security vendors could come in, add those particular layers. So we are talking about the complexity of having more and more security vendors, more and more security layers to all the kind of infra that we have, either on-prem, on cloud, or networks that we have. But if you look at any kill chain, right? We was talking about, the previous speaker was talking about the kill chain, and we were talking about it. So if you look at the underlying factor in any kill chain, the underlying factor in any kill chain is the elevation of privilege. Irrespective of whatever mechanism the attacker comes in, whether he comes in from the endpoint, whether he comes in from the vulnerability that was there, or whether he comes in from 0-day, whatever it is, unless and until he gets a privilege, he is not able to really perform any aspect. So how do you prevent that particular privilege, or how do you take care of those privileges? Again, privileges, if we talk about admins, regular admins, third parties, help desk. Privileges, if we talk about apps, your service accounts, your OT, almost everything in the OT runs in privilege. Your cloud SaaS, again, if I'm referring back to the technologies, your cloud SaaS, your cloud communication, your application to application communication, your API communication, they're all having lots and lots of privileges, right? Now, how do you make sure that the privilege is secured and the users or the usage is more governed and secured? So traditionally, we were only talking about the RDPs or the Unix systems or the Linux systems or the mainframe systems, but today, or the network devices, but today it's gone much ahead. So making sure that the privilege is secured is of primary importance. I'll go one step further. In the future, it's more, since we are going to talk about the metaverse, in the future we are going to talk about the OT being connected to the cloud or whatsoever. I'll say all users should be treated as privileged users. If we don't treat all users as privileged users, we'll defy and we'll keep undermining their level. We have countless examples of how a threat actor came into a user machine. If you look at the Cisco incident example, he came to that user machine, leveraged some of his credentials which was found in the browser or some kind of a on the darknet, and then at the end of the day he was able to get into the systems because of the elevation that was possible. So if you don't treat each and every user, each and every identity as a privileged user, you are going to lose it at the all. Now, what it also means is the traditional way of approaching a particular organization's security or the perimeter is now today extended, right? So we are talking about extending of the workforce because they are working from homes, and we are also talking about extension of the identities on the machine side, on the cloud side, on the service account side, on the DevOps side today, wherein all privileges are there. So if we continue using our traditional methods of privileged user and only making sure that the privilege usage is controlled at the Unix root level or the Windows RDP level, then that's not going to help. So extension of or the identification of what the privileged user is and how do we do it. We all know one entry into that network and your entire extended network will start collapsing. So the treatment, if you treat a PAM as a regular PAM that we used to think about, then we will defeat the purpose. Today we need to talk about PAM in the extended PAM era. So we have to talk about PAM in the extended PAM era, wherein it covers all your kinds of identities, whether they are service accounts, whether they are your cloud accounts, whether they are your IoTs, whether they are your DevOps, whether they are your RPAs, everything. And then look at the privilege. How much privileges are you controlling, right? And when you do a reality check, you will realize that you are still working at the traditional PAM level and not at the extended PAM level. That's where the change in mindset is what would require. So we at Delinea have the vision for supporting identities at the extended PAM level, and we have controls available to make sure all privilege access, irrespective of where they arise from or what the underlying platform is, what the underlying technology is secured. So limiting privilege escalation or limiting privilege elevation is something at the core that we do, and we also have some adaptive capabilities to help you with the analytics and the threat monitoring aspect per se. So I want to put this in terms of what we call as a PAM maturity model. Usually organizations look at first at the foundational step wherein they are doing privilege administration at the basic level, which is the Unix and Windows server level stuff or basic networking stuff, which is what we talk about the foundational aspect. But we need to go one step further and look at all your extended perimeters, and then also not talk about privilege access, but also get to the next level wherein you are able to control the privilege elevation at the device level itself. So privilege elevation at the device level is something where we will talk about at the enhanced layer of privilege. Third aspect I will talk about is more towards the adaptive, wherein we are able to have a layer of privilege behavior or privilege analytics and then think, okay, I have privileged users and what is their behavior, and then how do I correlate it to whether it is normal behavior, abnormal behavior, and then accordingly be able to restrict or shut down the access or remove the users from accessing certain devices almost in real time. So that's what I would call it as adaptive. So we at Delinea, we have various under the umbrella of PAM, we have various, I would say, called modules within our Delinea platform, which I'll come to shortly. And these modules will help you at each and every level of the PAM maturity cycle. So despite you being a PAM user, you want to look at, even if you are at a foundational level, you want to move to the enhanced level and control the privileges of access, or whether if you are not a PAM user and want to start with the foundational aspect, we have something for everyone out over here, and then maybe even take it to the next level to helping them get into the adaptive authentication or adaptive intelligence per se. So that's where. So what we come from, Delinea as a company, obviously it's a merger between Thycotic and Centrify, many of you have known, and we are a Gartner leader for last 4 or 5 years. So we have this sections around what we call as observe, control and adapt. So observing is obviously privileged user management is all around the observing monitoring, but then also being able to control the privilege elevation and delegation capabilities per se. And then the adaptive part as I talked about. So aligning with your, I would say the PAM maturity model life cycle. And then this is a cloud native offering, meaning not that we don't offer on-prem to those who want, but then we are talking about cloud native capabilities or true SaaS capabilities where we have auto-scalable clouds available and you don't need to bother about the infra that is required to host or to be managed over there on that particular platform. So that's the Delinea platform that we have. So end-to-end visibility, monitoring, controlling of privilege elevation capabilities, and then finally the adaptive security layers built on that particular platform if you want cloud. And the reason why I'm talking more around the cloud aspect here is because today we are going more and more towards cloud and cloud adoption, and then we are comfortable with the cloud. And even if some industries have not reached there, they are open to talking cloud today. That's the reason. So as I said earlier, Delinea as a company, we are only into the business of PAM, merger between 2 companies. We are Gartner leader for 4 or 5 years. Globally, we have more than 10,000 plus customers. Just if I talk about 2021, we have acquired more than 1,000 plus customers there. Global CSAT rating stands around 4.8 out of 5. And it's not a point solution which works independently because we need to build a lot of integrations, and that integrations are equally important for any PAM to sustain. We have about 150 plus integrations available and supported by the OEMs or by us, either separate OEMs or by us, which help you to bridge and integrate all the necessary systems, be it a vulnerability management or a HSM or a SIMS or any other kind of systems or technologies that you want to talk about. Most importantly, we believe in the concept of being seamless, not just making it too complicated to use. So you will definitely find the UI UX very, very easy and scalable to use, but at the same time you will have lot more faster time to value. Think about it that our cloud offering can really help you set up a PAM in a matter of few hours and days rather than weeks and months. That's the kind of value that we offer. And maybe I could also say, even for on-prem offerings, we have been offering something like a zero downtime upgrades for absolutely zero cost for the past 5-7 years already. So that's the kind of value that we offer and seamlessness that we offer with our technology platform. And being cloud native, it's like we have the first mover advantage in terms of being cloud native, and I think today we're still the only one who have a cloud native PAM platform. That's about it. That's all that I have for you today.